part of the Independent News Media Inc. network. This is the Disclosure Podcast. Welcome, where we talk about issues that are facing our area, and we disclose kind of a behind the scenes look at how we do stuff and produce our news and content and run our newspapers and our websites. I am Logan Anderson, the managing editor of the Daily State News, aka the Delaware State News, and I am joined by...
I'm Kit Parker, the web editor for the Delmarva Group for Independent News Media's Downstate Daily, Delaware State News.
And I'm Joe Edelin. I am the state government reporter for the Daily State News, aka the Delaware State News.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So again, thanks for watching and checking us out. This is episode 2 of our video podcast project, and we're in November right now. We just I think this is the second week of November, and we October just finished. And October, as everybody knows, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. In October, we, as the Delaware State News, every Sunday we put together a really cool profile of an important person or of a really great story, and we really think it's a fun piece to do for Sundays, so that people know that or get to see some really great stuff on the weekends. And in October, we partnered with the Breast Cancer Coalition, and they identified a list of survivors who wanted to tell their story, and I think we did that pretty well. It's an important topic in Delaware. Between 2014 and 2018, I think it's more than 4,000 people were diagnosed with breast cancer in Delaware. More women than men, but it was a mix. It is a mix of men and women who have been diagnosed with breast cancer. So I thought it was important that we did that story, and we sent our reporters out to do it. Joe did a great piece, and in this episode we're going to sit down with our other reporters to talk about some of those stories.
Great. So while we're on the topic of our breast cancer stories that we worked on last month, Craig, do you want to share a little bit about the story that you did?
Well, I spoke with Andrea Kadar, who is from Smyrna, and she, at age 35, through a self-examination, had realized that she had to take a look to the doctors, and by age 35, she had a double mastectomy, and she has had 3 surgeries since, 6 rounds of chemotherapy, but I'm glad to say, through the help of a great network of friends, family, co-workers, she seems to be doing very well, as could be expected. Her husband is a rock star, according to her. Her 11-year-old daughter has been very strong. Family, community members have really stepped up, gotten her to sporting events, just activities, so that's what really jumped out at me. And the advice she did have was test early, get mammograms, self-examinations, and genetic testing. She really stressed that to get ahead of whatever may arise later.
Great.
And Joe, what did you write about for the breast cancer awareness?
Yes. So I spoke with Sherry Brown. She lives in Bear now, but when she found out that she had breast cancer, I was actually on her 47th birthday, and at the time she was living in Pennsylvania. So days before, she told me that she would always schedule her routine doctor's appointments around her birthday, just because it's easy to remember. And then days before her routine mammogram, she felt a lump. So then when she shows up to her mammogram, they're like, okay, this is changing because this is now a diagnostic mammogram rather than just a routine thing. And then they called her back. She got a biopsy, and she goes back on her 47th birthday and finds out she has cancer. And then that was in November. And I think November 15th was her birthday. And then the holiday season, she said, was kind of hard that year because you don't really know who you're telling, what family members, what friends, who do you tell? And also she didn't start treatment until that next year in January. So she actually did both chemo and radiation. She did that for about a year, and now she is coming up on her, well, in a couple weeks now, it'll be 10 years since she's a survivor, or 10 years as a survivor, I should say. So yeah, it was a really interesting story because like it just sounded so chaotic. You know, I felt like you don't really, you can't really put it into perspective until you hear somebody's firsthand story about what they went through. And as, you know, that time there were so many unknowns, you know, that she was talking about, that she was going through. But now she's with the Breast Cancer Coalition. She participates in a lot of their activities like Nurture with Nature, where they go out and take survivors and they just go out and do stuff in nature. They have different events. She's also part of like peer conversations. So one of the things that she said was her friend Tammy was one of the best helps, she said, because she would go to these appointments by herself, radiation, chemo, but she would go with her and help. And so now, as a survivor, she tries to go and give back and talk to people who are going through the same things as her, and help them through the process because, you know, she went through it and she beat it. She actually now has CML. She calls herself a CML thriver because it's just something that you kind of live with. She kind of attributed that to some of just the hardcore like radiation, chemo, but it's something that is manageable, and I just think it was a really interesting story, kind of eye-opening when you you know, hear about, you know, the trials and tribulations of something like that, you know, and how it just kind of affects your family and affects your kind of standing, I guess, you know, and I guess it puts a different perspective on how you look at your own health, you know, so it was a very interesting story. Great, so we just heard from Craig and myself. Matt, how about you for your breast cancer story? How did it go? Can you tell us a little bit about you know, what you learned?
Yeah, so I spoke with a resident of Millsboro, Lynn Smith, and the thing that stuck most out for me about her story was, I mean, early on in the interview, she told me just the piece of advice that she had for others, you know, who have cancer, and especially with people who have breast cancer, is to know your body and be your own advocate. And so I just simply decided to sort of relay her own advice to others in my piece, because yeah, I mean, she put it best. So really, that in terms of you know your own body, that came down to, I mean, she'd been getting mammograms, routine annual mammograms, since the age of 19, and that's in large part due to the fact that she had dense breast tissue, which is associated with an increased risk of breast cancer. And also makes it harder to detect breast cancer in mammograms. And so oftentimes, you know, not only was she getting these annual mammograms, she would also oftentimes get follow-up calls to schedule an ultrasound, because again, the dense breast tissue can make it much harder to detect those cancer cells. So just a few years ago, when she once again, you know, got that follow-up call to schedule an ultrasound appointment, she didn't think much of it, and then she got the results back, and the doctor said something along the lines of, "There's something suspicious in here, but you know, nothing you probably need to worry about. We'll address it. We'll take we'll come, when you come back here in a year, we'll see how things look." And her reaction to that was, "This is new." And you know, again, she'd been getting these exams for so many years, and when she you know, when something was out of the ordinary, her gut instinct kicked in, and she talked about, you know, this long rapport that she developed separately with her gynecologist, and you know, based on those conversations, that relationship with her gynecologist and her own instincts about her own body, she was like, no, in fact, we're gonna schedule that you know, the follow-up tests immediately. And in fact, even if my gynecologist thinks otherwise, yeah, we're doing it. We're gonna figure out what this is and address this immediately. She just yeah, she just made sure that happened, and then you know, after shortly, you know, in the weeks that followed, she found out that yes, indeed, she had breast cancer, and she basically again going the line of knowing your own body and being your own advocate. She became really informed about about breast cancer and about her options. in terms of procedures that she wanted to do. And so she found out about a type of procedure called an immediate mastectomy. So that's done basically, there's a surgery to do the double mastectomy, and then there's breast reconstruction that can be done basically while you're still on the operating table. The plastic surgeon comes in and performs the breast reconstruction. And so she decided that was the best option for her. It felt like it was like, get it all done, stitch her back up, and then that she doesn't have to come back in potentially, years later, if in the case of what can happen with implants, if there's an issue there and potentially have other problems down the line. So she wanted to basically just have the surgery and kind of just be done with that. So that was just her message for people, was just to learn your options, know your body, and be your own advocate.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, all that was great. I think I think these stories touched our readers, but I think it really had an impact on our reporters too.
To read these inspiring stories, as well as our Think Pink special section that appeared in our Sunday edition of Delaware State News, you can go to baytobaynews.com/cancer awareness. This you will find all 5 profiles from our 5 reporters, as well as our special section, and soon to be more content as we write more inspiring stories about not just breast cancer, but just cancer as a whole in the state of Delaware.
Awesome. Great. Thanks very much.